So you guys all just have to do that little accept thing. What I was going to say is, because this is the first of what we internally call the Launchpad classes, this is a 12-class series that Brian and I created specific to North Carolina contracts, specific to what we deem necessary. We recognize that until you get started in your business, kind of the best way to learn is from those around you. And so we created this program with a series of courses that kind of teaches you everything you need to know to get your business up and going. So I'm going to spend the first few minutes just kind of talking about that and what you guys can expect over the next few weeks. But then we'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what we're doing today. So just bear with us. Really and truly, though, we've designed these classes kind of in a lecture type format. I know those of you that have joined us before know that I do spend a good amount of time talking. So please chime in, please give your 2 cents. I don't want to just hear myself talk the whole time, and I want to make sure it's of value to you guys. When we are going through this, I typically will refer to certain scripts that I have used in the past and things that have worked for me. I'll also reference what has worked for some other people, but just know, obviously, there is no one size fits all when it comes to real estate. There are a million ways you can do things. I do use the word scripting quite a bit, which I know can be a little off-putting, but just know when it comes to scripting or prospecting, whatever term you want to use, it does not always mean picking up the phone. In essence, it just means that we're having a two-way conversation with people that have the opportunity to become a lead or to become a referral source for us. It's just us getting in the habit of having real estate-based conversations with people in a way that's going to build our business. So we've got, like I said, we've got 12 of these classes. They typically run on Tuesdays and Thursdays over the next few weeks. We typically do them about once a quarter. We'll do a little break and then we'll run them on repeat. So these are the ones that we do recurring. You can always catch them on our YouTube channel, or if you can't make it, just let me know and I can send you the recording. After each of these classes, if there's anything that I've gone over, so during some of our classes, I'll talk about templates that I might have on Canva, etc. Anything that I have created or any resources that I have, I will send out with a copy of the recording after class later in the day. So this is just kind of what you can expect. You can also check out our Instagram, the link in bio. We try to stay up to date on posting all of these, but in essence, we'll talk about getting your business started. We'll talk about some of the platforms that we use here at Choice. We'll talk about building your business in your database, and then we'll go into working with buyers and sellers from consultations and presentations and things like that. So just know, like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, but you guys feel free to stop me at any point. Most of you guys here, I think everyone I have is with Choice, but you guys have all met Brian. He's awesome. His goal here is just to really see you guys succeed though. So we've created these classes. That said, we do run specialty courses specific to whatever you guys deem necessary. So as things come up in your business, or if you have questions, or if there's something you want some more information on, let us know. I'm always happy to hop on one-on-one on a Zoom and go over whatever you need at the moment. But additionally, it's always of great importance to us to hear what's going on in your world. And from there, I can do a panel interview, gather some other agents that might have some insight, or we can kind of run a specialty class based on that. My name is Kate Stedman. I'm the Director of Agent Development. I think everyone here has met me except Bryn, but we've met virtually. We'll hop off at some point and say, hey, I'm from Raleigh. I'm a Raleigh native, born and raised. I know that's a little uncommon. I love the area. I started practicing real estate after I had a clothing company. We were on Shark Tank. I'm quite a seamstress, so I'm in the habit of having large financial conversations with people. But after getting out of that industry, I was trying to decide what to do. I got into real estate. I did that for about 5 years and was very passionate about it. But after COVID, I just decided it was time for a shift. So I take great joy in running classes like these and working with other agents to help you guys build your business. Because like I said, there's a million ways to do it. And I just find great joy in helping you find a way that feels both sustainable and exciting to you. So that said, real quick, I don't know if I mentioned it, but one of the things that I really am passionate about, one of the things that I really loved in real estate are the knowledge that this isn't this is something we do every day, but this isn't an everyday decision for our clients. This is something that they have worked so incredibly hard for. It's kind of a once in a lifetime thing, or something that will only happen every 2 or 3 times in someone's life. And so they often have worked really hard. And more than that, though, I love those little moments that you see with your clients that no one else gets to see when you're showing homes, those little interactions. I just love getting to know people personally. And I take this responsibility quite seriously. So that's kind of what I love. That's my why. Same thing goes with you guys. I love seeing you succeed. I love kind of watching you find your rhythm and really being your biggest cheerleader. So that said, I know everyone here kind of is at different places in their career, but regardless, you're all in this class for a reason, even though we are talking about getting your business started. So I want to make sure I'm always kind of teaching to where you guys are in your business. So real quick, I want to go around and just have you guys answer the questions that are on the screen of who are you, where are you in your business, how long have you been in the triangle, what got you into the business, and where are you in terms of production versus where you want to be, and what does that financial goal look like, and then more importantly, like I just mentioned, what is your why? I want to kind of hone in on all of that before we dive in today. Who wants to get started? Bryn, you want to go first? You're who's
Sure.
right next on my video.
Yeah, I'm Bryn. I have, let's see, I've grown up in North Carolina. I was in Eastern North Carolina, went to school at ECU. I've always wanted to be in real estate. I'd actually started taking the class when I was 18, and I was new to like college and being in a big city of Greenville, North Carolina. So I was like, this class is 8 hours long. I can't take this class. So I ended up dropping out of the class, but then I still always wanted to go to real estate school. So I went to school for construction, urban planning. So I had kind of a background in zoning and land use and some development. So I went back and got my real estate license 6 years ago. This month was my 6-year anniversary. Before that, I was doing a lot of work in like restaurants around downtown, and decided that it was time for me to go back and get it. And I've been full-time real estate for 3 years now. So for 3 years, I was doing that and working at a restaurant downtown called Death and Taxes, and just kind of doing both for a little bit. And then decided to go full-time when COVID hit, and it really took off. I was doing pretty well for my first couple years full-time. So I think 2 years ago, my biggest year, I sold at 10 million for the year, which was really big for me. And then I was with another firm, and I've kind of jumped around a little bit trying to find the place I want to be. But I really want to focus more on Sphere as well, instead of lead generation. And I don't care about ever having like a team or anything like that. I just kind of want to, I'm fine selling $10 million a year in real estate and that being it, and me still having time to do what I want to do. So that's kind of where I'm at now, and trying to make sure that I can do that and be sustainable, and focusing on friends and family and Sphere.
Absolutely. And I love to hear that, because I mean, I think especially when you come from other like teams or backgrounds, it's all about more. And once you reach a certain goal, then you're going to be doing more next year, which is great if that's what you want to do, but it can be hard to make it sustainable. And real estate can be kind of all consuming. And so it's hard to find time for friends and family. So if we can find that perfect balance where we're doing what we love, we're making some good money, but we're also kind of pouring back in. And when you focus on your SOI, then you can really kind of shift your mentality to, obviously you want to be present and you really are there for your friends, but at the same time, you can find great peace in knowing like, I'm still working my business. I'm building these relationships, and that's part of what I do. So very cool. That was a very similar path to what I took as well. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely.
Billy Joe, you want to give us a little update? Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, there you go. Cool.
I'm from this area, although not Raleigh, Durham area. So I was out in Chatham County from the time I was in my early 20s. So that's a really long time, and I won't even try to figure that out. I always loved Cary. And so in 2007, I bought in Cary. I had a job with the court system at the time, and I wanted a short commute. I'd been living in Washington, D.C. So I wanted a short commute. I got one. It was 8 minutes to work. But I only worked there for another 4 years. And so I was away from the Triangle area for about 4 years, lived in Arizona. So out near where Kate is now, a little bit further even, out in the desert, and loved it, and came back. And I had looked into real estate before. Like when I went through the process of buying my house, I was really intrigued and took the class. But at the time, I was told, or was under the impression, this would have been 2008, I guess, that I couldn't do it part-time. So of course I had a full-time job and it just didn't make sense to try to, do that. And especially if I wasn't going to leave a full-time job to jump into real estate. So when I came back from Arizona, I took the class with my son, and the idea was that we would both get into real estate together. And of course, he did not have the drive to get all the way through the class and then the exam, but I did. And so I've had my license for a couple of years. I've been in real estate for a couple of years, but as Kate can attest, I haven't done anything since joining Choice. I attend these classes, and what I get from your classes, Kate, and even from our conversations, I get inspired, but I think the commitment is lacking for real estate. And so you said, what is your why? And that's really what I'm trying to figure out, is what is my why? Because, unlike Bryn, it's not like, oh, I always want to be, I want to figure out how it fits for me. And so like 2023, I really struggled to come up with the fee for the Raleigh Real Estate Association. And so I really kind of told myself, speaking of why, if I can't make this work this year, this is it for me. So knowing that the education gives me inspiration, and I really need some commitment and force behind it to say, okay, I need nuts and bolts. I need to know how to go about contacting people and how to go about, and I really want it to be about relationships, but as some of you guys know, I struggled with the people component, and I really don't want to sell to people because I barely want to talk to people. And that's just to do with me. That's my crap, if you will, that I've been through that has left some lasting wounds. And so I want to get past that. And I really feel like real estate can be, really integral to that process. But financial goals, I would love to make lots of money. So, that the algorithm of, contact 5 people and you make $25,000 or whatever is not working for me right now, because I don't even know who to contact. So hopefully we'll get there. Hopefully your classes this time will do it. Carrie, it's all in your hands. No, that's part of it, is I know it's on me. I realize it's on me. So yeah, that's why I'm here, and trying to figure out what is my why. So maybe opens the door for some other people who haven't figured out their why yet.
That's the perfect reason to be here. And it's very understandable. I mean, in real estate, we are entrepreneurs and we wear a million hats, and it's hard to know where to focus our time and where to begin. And if the goal is so big, then where do you even get started? And that can seem daunting. So that's all very understandable. And I'm honored to inspire you. And we will continue to chat about how to get it going, because I hear you. The passion is there. We just got to find your rhythm, and that's fine. Whatever works for you. Cool. Thanks for sharing, Billy Joe. Jackie, are you able to share a little bit? It's so good to see you.
Hey there. Good morning, everyone. I am Jackie Pumales Moody. I'm going to go down this lovely list. So thank you for all these great prompts to get me through this process here. And I'm originally from Pennsylvania via New York, but have been in the Triangle for 17 plus years and absolutely love it. So this is home for me. And I have 3 kids. My youngest is about to graduate high school, so we're kind of working through all that fun stuff. And we reside in the Southern Wake area, and I have a bachelor's in business communications. How long have I been in real estate? So back in Pennsylvania, we actually had some rental properties. So we kind of did that side of the shop, no license, but, we had a couple properties and that we managed. So it's always been there. It was something I've always enjoyed. But I work for full-time for a media company, and I do a lot of their outreach initiatives. So, and so we have one side that kind of handles the web and corporate video production, and I oversee, we go hand in hand and supporting the community. So I oversee that umbrella, the operations of that for funding and all that other good stuff. So we run programs like Bowling for Autism, and outreach is huge, Tweens and Technology program. So, and a couple other initiatives within the organization. So to support the community and, helping little people to get involved in tech early. So that's the short side of it. As far as truly the length of time I've had my license, a little over a year. And as I mentioned, dabbled in it a few years in Pennsylvania when we had some rental property. We actually have a rental here in North Carolina as well. And it's always intrigued me. It's an area I've always been interested in. I have family and friends that are from other places that are saying, hey, I'm thinking about relocating to North Carolina. I was like, well, why don't I go ahead and get my license to assist them in that process? And so I think that was one of my final push, is something that has been very appealing to me and something that I've enjoyed. And again, I am full-time at an organization, so I'm kind of doing this on a part-time basis, but I really wish to and looking forward to kind of transitioning into it more on a full-time basis. I am with another agency, so I am very thrilled, Kate, that you put on these training opportunities because that's the shortfall. So, and I think I've shared that with you. And so when I came across, I've become a big fan, and hopefully will be a bigger fan going down the road after talking to you a little bit more down the road. Say, where are you in business? I'm right here in Raleigh, as noted, the RTP area, and a lot of activity and growth has taken place across the board. But Southern Wake, I mean, every road you turn down, there's construction, new builds and all. So that excites me a lot. And also the 540 extension is not too far either. So just kind of considering all of the opportunities there that are appeal to me. Where do you want to be? Well, I really would like to kind of really roll up my sleeves a little bit more and jump really into the real estate. I obviously focus more on the residential area, though I have had a couple of inquiries on the commercial side. I'm not sure if I want to dabble that. I think that's too much of there's uniqueness in both areas. So I think I need to focus in one area and master that. So just continue with residential sales, and whether it's on the listing side or the buyer side. So far, I've done mostly buyers in the past year, helping quite a few first-time home buyers. So that's been really rewarding. And I've also assisted with first-time home buyer workshops in the area. So that's great. And that was just a good educational process to really learn the opportunities, that funding that's available, as long as the couples qualify for the fund. So learning that process was really helpful for me as I'm kind of really diving into real estate. What are my financial goals? I don't think I put a number on it, but I definitely need to match my current salary, my full-time job salary. And then, I'm not really pushing I'm pushing myself, but if I had, say approximately 15 transactions in a given this year, I think that will really kind of help me truly get my rhythm in it. So I understand it from the rental side, but I know there's a lot of other things that go on, and being a home buyer myself, still on the flip side of the table, it looks a little bit different. So understanding and being able to master that to me is really important. And then I'll really kind of look at the big picture. So my why it's something I'm really interested in. I want to do, and then now I have family and friends from different areas that are exploring North Carolina. That kind of really helps me. I was like, yeah, I can help you in that endeavor. And I like the satisfaction that I receive, and I think this comes from my outreach side, new home buyers when they're purchasing their new home, the excitement and the thrill, and making that process easy for them, because that is, it's brand spanking new, and oh my gosh, what am I supposed to be doing, and kind of really educate them on that process. So I like that, and we'll take it from there.
I love that. And your story is very similar to mine in that my family had multiple investment properties growing up. And so that's kind of one of the things that got me into real estate. It was something that I kept thinking about and knew I had always loved. So, but taking that jump can be a little intimidating, but I too worked with a lot of first time buyers. And like you said, there's just so much joy that comes with that because they've worked so hard for it. And to your point, you can provide so much value to them just by simply explaining the process, which therefore creates really good referral partners down the road. And even if you end up not making the switch, just having your license and being able to get referrals from people that are moving here is still great. Obviously, you want to be doing more, but yeah, all good things to think about and keep in mind. Thanks for sharing, Jackie. I love seeing your face on here and getting to talk to you.
Thank you.
Joining us. Amy, how are you? Would you like to share a little bit with us today?
Sure. So I am Amy, and I actually do not live in the Triangle. I live in coastal North Carolina, but my family is planning to move to the Triangle likely this summer, depending on what my youngest does for the end of high school. So she's in the whole application process of the School of the Arts and the School of Science and Math. So we shall see. I've lived in Eastern North Carolina for 17 years almost, but prior to that, I grew up in Wisconsin, then was in California for 5 years because my husband was in the Navy, and then we ended up in North Carolina due to his military orders and just have stayed here. So I've been in real estate a little over a year, and right now I'm still juggling people on the coast as well as trying to grow a sphere in the Triangle. So I'm kind of straddling those two markets and trying to learn the Triangle market while still being on the coast. I look forward to pretty much focusing in on the Triangle once we settle a little bit. As far as financial goals, I have one graduating high school this year and one in college, and then another one who's a sophomore. So if I can just get them through college where they don't have to worry about it, that would be phenomenal. My middle one's a classical double bass player, so jobs after school may be great or may not be great. So I don't want her going into that with a bunch of debt. And so I jumped into real estate because knowing that our move would be coming in a few years, I wanted an opportunity to still provide for the family, but also force me to get to know people in the new area. We've always been moving around military families, so we've had that community that we're used to, but moving into a more diverse location without the military forcing you to meet people, real estate was a way for me to make sure I was getting out and getting to know people.
Absolutely. Having just moved here, I for those of you that don't know, I just moved to Austin. And so I'll be back and forth between here and Raleigh, but I grew up in the Triangle. So coming to a new area, it's really forced me to put myself in situations where I have the opportunity to meet new people and therefore get outside my comfort zone and stuff. But you're right, it's very refreshing, and it can be really exciting because not only are you getting to meet new people, but you're building your business and providing for your family. But all good things. Well, I know we have a few other people that are on the call, but they are both at work or at inspection, so they won't be able to share with us. But just know we say hey to you guys. Real quick. So I know a lot of you are at different places, but when we are speaking about going full-time into real estate, or if you're just trying to get to the bottom line, even if you already are full-time, one of the most common things that we hear is that I want to either be able to replace my current salary or I want to make six figures. And so very often we have the same type of conversation with people. And the thing that we need to keep in mind, a few things. One, taxes, right? As independent contractors, we need to be sure that we recognize that when we're talking about making that money, it really means that we're making 120 or 115 because of the taxes that are going to be paid out. So just kind of keeping that in mind and making a habit of setting that aside or paying it in advance. But if we're talking about that really and truly, that can be incredibly overwhelming, right? But when we look at it, Jackie, if we're talking about 12 or 15 transactions for the year, that's really just one deal a month, right? Or slightly more than that. And so what would it take if we're looking at our numbers? What is our conversion from the number of people we meet to appointments and appointments to contracts? And so if our conversion from appointments to contracts is really high, then maybe we only need 1 or 2 appointments each month, whether that's buyer or seller. But as we get started, really and truly, we should be aiming to have as many buyer and seller appointments as possible, likely more buyer appointments for the number of contracts needed versus sellers, right? Sellers tend to be a little bit easier. Buyers can fluctuate based on interest rates, as we see, or financial ability, or they might be planning a ways out, right? And so as we get started, I would just make a goal to have at least 4 appointments a month minimum. If you can get that up to 6, great, but really aiming for 4 solid appointments where we're talking about the process and we're getting people in homes and we're setting next steps. The way I see an appointment is it's not an appointment unless we've left that meeting with a plan for our next one. And if we're on the same page as moving forward. So just kind of keep that in mind. Brian does a whole business planning course, and I'm available to be a resource if you want to kind of break down your goals and making them actionable, but just kind of keep that number in mind if we're talking about making 100K. All right, so let's talk about getting started. First and foremost, I think we're all kind of in the same boat here. It sounds like everyone's got about a year, 3 years, right? Still in the process of getting going. Things that we're going to talk about today are likely things you already know, but just allow me to be kind of a quick refresher and kind of a nudge in the direction if there's stuff that you've known that you need to do and we just haven't done. And I speak for personal experience. There's some things on here that I too will be doing this week or this month. So first and foremost, if we are going to be a real estate agent, we need to establish our presence as an agent, right? We need to shout from the mountaintops to everyone that we know that we are a real estate agent, that we are happy to help people, right? But we do need to take a quick step back. First, we need to recognize that just because we are an agent, just because we now have our license, does not mean that anyone and everyone that is our Facebook friend or everyone that knows us and therefore knows we're an agent now is going to get in line to use us as an agent, right? Like it is something that even I, being in the business, struggle with, right? Understandably so, though, because a few things. One, there is a ton of noise in this world. If we're talking about social media, no matter where we are in this realm, people know a million agents, and we have to know if we're going to even end up in front of them. But also, furthermore, we need them to know that A, they might know we're new. And so if we're new, are they going to be using us? Or are we in front of them enough to get their business, right? Unfortunately, busy equals successful to many people. And so we need to be looking as professional as possible and as invested in the business as someone would expect us to be in order to trust us with their largest financial decision. So a few things. One, we're going to be establishing our presence, meaning we need to make sure that they have somewhere they can find us. If we go up to someone, we're like, yeah, I'm a real estate agent, or someone comes up to you and says, yeah, I'm a life insurance agent, right? You go to look them up online and you can't find anything. Are you really going to trust them with all of your finances? I don't even know if they have a website, right? Same thing goes for us. As much as we hate to say it, as much as we hate to add to our to-do list, we need to make sure that we are able to be searched and that we look as professional as we want to appear to our clients. So we need to make sure that they know where to find us. There are a million platforms out there. Please know that this is not me saying you got to do everything, right? But pick a few platforms that work for you and stick with it, because we need to make sure that people can find us. So if we're talking about social media, you've got Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We'll go into more of these in depth in just a second. We also have the real estate websites. These are going to be the standard ones that people search on, things like Zillow and Realtor. As strange as it sounds, I really would recommend creating a profile on those sites. Even I, as an agent, if I get a client or a friend that's asking for an agent in another area, I will start by asking my fellow agents if they have any recommendations or if they know of anyone in that area. But if not, my next step is to go to Zillow and click on the agent finder, search for that area, and then call a few of them. So we want to make sure we're putting ourselves in a position where someone can do the same for us if they end up in that situation. And then you're going to have agent sites, things like KV Core, that's our CRM that also has a front end where clients can search for homes just like they would on Zillow or Realtor. You might also establish a Google business page. So we'll circle back to these things, but just know you don't have to do all of them, but whatever you do, you want to pick one and kind of stick with it or stick with a few of them. So before we jump into all of those though, we need to figure out how are we even going to promote ourselves? Are we going to just do our name, comma, Realtor? Are we going to do some branded name like True Home Finder, North Carolina, whatever? Obviously that's like a builder, right? But are we going to have some catchphrase or some name that we want to go with? When I got into the business, I worked for a team. And so I was just some little agent on that team. And then when I went independent with Choice, I really wanted to brand myself. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about what would that look like and what did I want to do. So I decided to go with Sarah Kate Homes, which is not all that creative, right? But all of my social media platforms were Sarah Kate. For some reason, my first name is Sarah, right? So for some reason, even though I go by Kate, Sarah Kate is kind of my online persona. So I was like, well, I'll go with this. And I spent a good amount of time thinking about it. But then there's other people that will do the same thing and they'll spin in circles forever trying to figure out what they should even start their brand as. But the thing to keep in mind is only we care about that. Right? Like if we're talking to our clients, I guarantee you, literally, I don't think any of mine would know that that's my business name. They just know my name as a realtor. So I say all of that to say, if you would like to create some branding, if you have a vision for creating a team down the road, then by all means, create a business, create a name for it. But if you're just an agent getting started, don't spin in circles about it. Getting going is most important. And like I said, they're just going to remember you. So figure out how you want to promote yourself, but recognize that that very well could be just your name as an agent. Then we're going to write a few bios. Now, this class, I will say, we're going to just kind of speed through a number of things. Like I said, these are just reminders for things, but we need to write a few bios. One is going to be short and consolidated. This is going to be 1 or 2 sentences that talks about what inspires you. And, I'm an agent who loves iced lattes and trips to Target, whatever, right? Like it could be something really short, but this is what we're going to post on social media. These are the things that are going to say who we are and give us an opportunity to relate to the people that are going to be seeing these things. So we don't want it to only be housing related. We do want to drop in little tidbits of our personality. When we had Taylor Oldham, one of our agents, she hosted a social media class a few months ago, I guess it was last year at some point. And one of the things that she mentioned is when we're creating our brand for ourselves or when we're posting things on social media, we don't always want it to only be house related or only real estate related, right? We want to pick about 4 categories of things that are not real estate related, things that if someone else were to see, they would then start to think of us as, right? So one of the things that I have started to become passionate about, I'm by no means good at, but it is something that I'm going to start taking classes on because I think it's cool, right? I'm going to start skating. I want to roller skate, right? Which sounds cheesy, but I have a number of friends and agents that already know that about me. And so when they see something roller skating related, they'll send it to me, right? Same type of thing goes for these little bios. We want to create opportunities for people to think about us in ways that generates a conversation for an outreach, even if it's as simple as them sending us a link to a class or a link to some video to watch, right? It's a reason for us to stay connected. So just kind of think about that. That's what we're going to put on our Instagram profile and on our Facebook page. Then you're going to create a longer bio. This is going to be something that talks about, where you just the same type of things as what we talked about when we were first getting started in this class. Where are you from? How long have you been in the triangle? What is your background professionally? And how long have you been in the business? What excites you about this business? What are the clients that you tend to work with? And what about that invigorates you? I would make it kind of long. That's what you're going to put on something like the Choice Residential website. This is what we're going to put on your Zillow profile, things like that allow space. This is likely also going to be something that you eventually put on a piece of paper that has your headshot and your contact info so that it would be included in your buyer packets and your listing packets, right? This is something that no one wants to do, right? Like even I myself in this new position, I have not found time to write an updated bio from kind of a coaching standpoint and as opposed to an agent. So that's what I'm committing to this month is I am going to finally do that. But it gives us an opportunity again to relate to people. And so when people are talking about doing this or have hesitation around it, oftentimes it's because I haven't been in the business for 15 years, or I'm not from the area. Are they going to trust me to know what I'm talking about when I just moved here 2 years ago? When actually those are amazing ways to relate to people, because to a number of your points, there's a ton of people moving here, right? And so having that perspective of, I was new to the area, I know it can be intimidating to learn the school systems and to figure out, where the best restaurants are, whatever the case may be, right? Adding those little pain points to your bio and talking about how you got to know people and what you love about the triangle, those are going to be the same things that your potential clients relate to. So just want to throw that out there. So quick reminder, if you're at Choice, once you've written that bio, then go ahead and send it over. If you already have one, go ahead and use that to start with, but then I would kind of explore writing another one. Also, I am a big believer that time is money. Done is better than perfect. So just getting it out there, but also recognizing what your strengths and weaknesses are. If you are not a writer, think about just hiring it out to someone, maybe a friend that you know, or someone you've seen on Facebook, right? It's all about engagement as well. So just put it on your Facebook page, or maybe the networking group on Facebook, whatever the case may be, and just saying, hey, I need a new bio written. Do any of my friends enjoy writing, right? Whatever the case may be, don't worry about potentially outsourcing that as well. Could be an opportunity to start some conversations. Then we're going to get some new headshots taken. How many of us have seen those signs driving down the street where you're like, I have seen the same sign for about 5 years, and I've also seen that agent, and that's an old headshot. That was me. It's still my email signature. My hair is brown. My headshot and my email signature is blonde. Like, I just got headshots taken last year and I still haven't updated them on my platforms, right? Do as I say, not as I do in this regard. But just know, I would recommend getting professional headshots taken. Yes, sure. If you have some from a year or two ago, by all means use them. But I would recommend, regardless, whatever the case may be, that it's a professional headshot, right? I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know. But when I first got into the business, I was like, I don't know why people put their faces on everything. It's on their business card. It's on their signs. Like, gosh, are you that self-absorbed? No, this is a relationship-based business. And so until someone gets to know you personally, your face and that association as they see you on all of these different marketing platforms is how they get to know you. And so it's how we start to build rapport. So it does matter. It's what we're going to be providing on all of these platforms. But most importantly, I'm just kind of a strong believer that the little things that people do show a lot in regard to how they handle the bigger things. So if I am a true real estate professional, if this is what I want to be doing as my full-time job, then yes, I absolutely need to make sure that I have a professional headshot taken. Because if I don't take time to do that, and this is my full-time business, these are cards that I hand out every day. These are emails that I'm including in my signature, my signature is included in every email I send. Why would they think that I'm going to take the time to really go through every single step in their process, right? Like, if I won't take that time for myself in my business, am I going to rush through other things, right? Like, if I have some just iPhone selfie photo, it's a little blurry. You can tell I didn't wipe off the camera. It's in some weird background, and that's what I have on my business card. Like, that's fine. And most people throw away business cards, right? But it's just kind of that thought process of, I'm investing in my business, and so therefore I'm going to invest in your financial decision and take that incredibly seriously. If you have any, if you don't know a photographer, or if you're looking for some photographer recommendations, feel free to reach out. I do know a few as well. And then we're going to finalize our contact details. Now, like I said, this all sounds so obvious, right? But just kind of talking through some things that I encounter as agents are getting started. First and foremost, our phone number. I would recommend you just use yours, right? I have talked with agents that are like, well, maybe I should get a business phone. That way I can turn it off at certain times. Totally. There is great value in taking time for yourself. But I don't know. at this point in my life, I feel like almost any phone bill is about $120 a month. So if you want to multiply that times 2, then go for it. But I just don't know if it's worth it. You do have the opportunity to use something like Google Voice, which might sound a little more professional to you and also might add kind of a buffer between people that are serious and not serious, especially based on the number of spam calls we get these days. But my advice would be, if you're thinking of doing something like that, at least try it out and have a few friends try it out, because Google Voice will say, if you haven't used it recently, you call the number and it'll say, please let us know who you're calling, who it is that's calling, right? And they have to say their name and then it relays onto you. I think people just want an instant answer, but it's something to think about. An email address, though, this is one that I really want to talk about. Sounds incredibly obvious, but it wasn't something that I thought about until I really got into the business, specifically after I changed brokerages, after being with one brokerage for 3 years, in that often when you are joining a team type of firm, they will give you a team email. Awesome. Looks incredibly professional. The thing to keep in mind, though, is it can be a little limiting to your business down the road, because who knows how long you will be with that team or with that firm, right? You may absolutely love it and totally think you're going to be there forever. But if you were to change firms, are you going to have the potential to miss out on other business? Quite possibly, right? All of these past clients, yes, they have your phone number and that won't change. So hopefully they'll call or text you if they don't get an answer, but very possibly they could email you and say, hey, I am ready to sell again. Or, hey, I think we're ready for our next investment property. And if they send an email to your old team email address and you've already left, well, either it's going to be bounced back, or that team's going to say, oh, they got out of real estate, we'd be more than happy to assist you, right? And they're going to just scoop up your client. So things to think about. That said, I would recommend creating a real estate specific email address. You don't want it to be just like Joe Schmo 123, right? Like it's going to be Kate Stedman sells homes at gmail.com or something like that. Now, what I would recommend, kind of one step above that, same type of thing as talking about the headshots, doing a little bit above and just showing your professionalism. I would recommend exploring Google Workspace or G Suite. I don't remember what it's called now. I think it's Google Workspace, but it's where you can work with Google to create a business. So one, you will have your business profile. If someone searches for your name, realtor or whatever, you'll have your business profile pop up on Google. But additionally, you will be able to get a custom domain and therefore a custom email address. So that's what I would recommend doing. So you can be, Kate at sarahkatehomes.com or something like that. It just sounds a little bit more professional. And in my opinion, if I get someone's Gmail account, although it might sound real estate specific, I'm worried that it might not be, and that it might not cut through whatever clutter of promotions or anything else that they might be getting. So just try to, at any point, take a step back and think about this from the client's perspective. And these little things, as small as they seem to us, will they matter to the client? Quite possibly, especially when there's something that we're going to use every single day. Your website, I would definitely recommend having one, because we are going to be posting about real estate matters all the time. If there is something that you can link to that will capture potential clicks and clients, yeah, we want to be doing that. At Choice, we use a CRM called KV Core. If you don't have a CRM, definitely explore that. But in essence, what it is on the back end, you'll have all of your leads that are kind of funneled in. On the front end, though, clients can search for homes just like they would on Zillow or realtor.com. The idea being, as they search, you will get notified. They will become a lead in your system. Often it will show you as well how many times they've been on the site, what properties they've been viewing. So it's really nice because you can reach out and say, hey, I saw this house that really fit your needs. It made me think of you. Just wanted to see if you have any interest. They're like, oh my gosh, I was just looking at that house this morning. And in your head, you're like, yeah, I know, I saw you on my website, right? Those little things can make a big difference. Or when you're doing an open house, we don't want to be posting our Zillow link, right? We want to be capturing this. And so if we're saying, hey, I'm hosting this open house this week, we post it to our Facebook and to our Instagram, and we include the link to our own website, then anytime someone clicks on that, it will force them to register. Especially as we're getting started, as we're building our business and our network, it's all about capturing those leads. And so if we don't have somewhere to store all of them, it's going to be a lot harder for us to follow up with them with purpose. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you do the G Suite or Google Workspace approach, you will also have the opportunity to do a custom domain. I believe Google Workspace or G Suite is about $12 a month, so it's not expensive at all. If you do that route, then you can absolutely do like SarahKateHomes.com, which will then point to your custom domain. But at Choice, for example, each agent has their own domain. So mine, for example, I think is kate.choiceresidential.com. So if you do Google Workspace, then you can have your custom domain point to your CRM domain. Things to think about. Now, the one that I am incredibly passionate about, because I didn't do it in my own business, is setting hours. It is very hard for us to do, especially as we're getting going, right? Because we need the business so badly. And people reach out when they're thinking about it, which means they reach out on nights and weekends, and sometimes incredibly late or incredibly early. And it's a delicate dance because we want that business, right? But to a certain extent, we need to know that we are not robots. We cannot operate 24/7. And also, scarcity creates value. We aren't going to reach out to our dentist at 7 a.m. on Sunday and expect them to answer the phone, right? So we are a true professional. We need to treat it as such. And people need to recognize that same thing. I always tell people, feel free to reach out to me whenever you have something on your mind, but just know these are my hours, right? I tend to work from about 9 to 6:30 from Monday through Friday. I tend to do all of my showings during that time. I have limited availability to do showings on the weekends, but typically when I do that, it's on Saturdays between 10 and 2. Those times fill up incredibly quickly though. So my recommendation is always, let's try to get in the home as soon as possible. Let's see if we can fit that in during the day. If not, we can push it to the weekend. But just know that Sundays are the days that I take to myself. Now, granted, if we have an offer out, by all means, I'll have my phone on me, right? But if we go to see a home on Saturday and they have an offer deadline of 3 p.m. on Sunday, just know that I'm going to expect that if we're interested in that home, we're going to write that offer on Saturday, because I can't guarantee that I'll be at my computer on Sunday. And furthermore, we don't want to be the last people in the door for an offer, because they can decide at any moment, right? Those little scripts, whatever it is for you, establish them, put them on your Google page for your business, put them on your Facebook page. If you decide to create a Facebook page specific to your business, put them on your buyer packet sheets when you've got your bio, right? Like, and your listing stuff. Set yourself up for success, because no one is going to set your hours for you. And it's one of those things that's really hard to backtrack on, right? Like, this has really burned me in the past, and it was something that I had to really work on. But being proactive and letting people know when you first start working with them what your hours are and when they can expect to hear back from me. I'm like, reach out anytime, but just know, if you text me at 6 a.m., I'll reach out first thing at 9 a.m., right? Because God, there's nothing worse than waking up and feeling like you're already behind. But I'm sorry, I'm not a morning person, first of all, but also I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to see something at 10 o'clock at night, right? But because it's text, people already assume that you're going to reach out ASAP, right? So we need to set those expectations, and you can have those clients that just really respect your time and are really good, but then they've lost out on, 3 houses. And then the next thing you know, they're texting you at like 10:30 at night. And then it's a little late to say, hey, by the way, these are my hours. Because then it feels a little too personal towards them. It can feel a little like, oh, they're only saying this because of what I've said, right? So just make a habit of putting that into writing. One of our agents, Taylor Oldham, I had the pleasure of being copied on a few of her emails for a client that I had referred to her. And as soon as she takes on a new client, her next email out after kind of establishing their criteria and setting them up on their website is saying, hey, here are some rules to follow, right? Like, if you go to new construction, let me know so I can call in advance, and let me give you some business cards. She has a few other things on there, but then it's also, hey, here are my hours. This is when you can expect to get a response from me. I I tend to require 24 hours notice before showings, right? Like I will always try to get there in advance, but if I am consistently being in the pattern of text me and we'll get there today, the one time I can't do that, they're going to think something's wrong, right? So if we can under promise and over deliver, then that's going to help us out in the long run. So I digress. You get the point. That is obviously something from my past that has really burned me, but I'm really trying to protect my new agents and helping you guys with that. So really establish your hours and stick to them. All right. Any comments, questions, thoughts? Have any of you guys tried any of these things yet? Anything you want me to add so far?
I just want to share that I certainly had to set that expectation after a client. She was calling all hours and she did shift work as a nurse. So if she saw something, she would just randomly call, and I had calls till like 11 p.m. Though I did set up the expectation as to my hours, and then not available at all on Sunday and by appointment only on Saturday. So setting those expectations is real important. And they get to a point that they're super eager just to jump in and get started, but it's on their time, and they don't think about planning and try to structure their time, which is something I was trying to and ultimately did, but get her into that understanding that you really need to plan this out. And going to show one property is not a good idea. You want to have multiple if you're going to show them a property, so they can really have a point of reference. So that's it. I'm totally in agreement with what you're saying. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point as well. Combining all of the properties and just adding little scripts like that to your buyer consultation as you get started. Like, your first appointment can by all means be at the home just to get in front of someone if needed. But that second appointment at the latest is going to be that consultation where I'm sitting in the office with someone, or I'm sitting wherever they deem necessary, and we're going through our packet and we're having those conversations together, saying, this is when I'm available. If at all possible, we're going to do kind of a group of tours together, because as you know, my time fills up quickly. One of the things that I used to say when I was talking about my schedule and saying, I typically kind of turn off I stop looking at my phone around 6:30 as long as we don't have any offers out, and say, I'm a full-time professional. I take this really seriously, which means that when we are together, my phone is away and I'm completely present with you. The only time I'm looking at my phone is if you have a question to something that I don't know the answer of, and I think I can look it up on their listing papers online, or if I'm getting into a lockbox that requires Bluetooth access. Aside from that, my phone is put away. I'm completely present with you. But that also means that when that 6:30 time comes, I'm completely present with my family. This is a time, or this is a business that can be really all consuming. And so I try to really respect my family and making sure that I'm really present for them when it matters. So by all means, if you've got questions about a house, or if you want to request another showing, send it when you're thinking about it. But just know, unless it's urgent, and by urgent, I mean we have an offer out, then I'm going to be responding to it first thing the next morning, right? Like just setting those expectations with them, because they too have a family, or they too want to have a personal life, right? And also, people don't need to know everything you're doing. This is kind of a side note, but just keep in mind, like if I'm at the gym and someone hits me up, I'm in an appointment. Wonderful. I'll call you as soon as I'm done. You don't need to know that I'm out shopping or that I'm doing life. Like you're going to think I should be chained to my computer just because you're texting me right now. Right. So all things to think about. Thanks for sharing. Then we're going to take all of that information and we're going to plug in, chug it onto all of those different platforms. Now I'm going to take a step back. Like I said, there's a million of these that you can do. Everyone has their own perspective on them. But in essence, when we're looking at social media, whether that's Facebook and or Instagram, you have one of two approaches. You either do them both together, which is one of the ones that a lot of people lean more towards now, right? Like your friend group is already actively engaged in your page and already followers of yours. So as you're posting about your life, as you're posting about your dog, you're posting about this new restaurant you went to, weaving in, I just had a closing and this is the open house I have coming up. Like putting all of that in already is very valuable, because those are the people we want to target already. Or you can take this alternate approach and say, I'm going to set up a business profile. I'm going to have my personal account and I'm going to have my business one. And I'm going to post everything to the business one, but then I might share it occasionally with my personal account. Whatever approach you would like, feel free. I took the second approach where I have them separate, mainly just because I wasn't always in real estate and I know my friends might not necessarily care, right? Like I came from the clothing industry. These people are not signing up to hear about all my open houses now. And I like to post all my like life stuff on one page. I didn't feel aesthetically pleasing to me to have houses kind of weaved in to my cute outfit pictures. But if that's your vibe, then go for it, right? But just kind of think about those things. Keep in mind that if you do establish a separate business page, you're going to have to try to figure out how to get people over to that one, which means you're going to have to be a lot more dedicated in how you approach it. Just things to think about. Zillow and Realtor, I already talked about, make sure you add that long bio, as silly as it sounds. Also, when you're doing all of these, I hate to say it, but choose the same photo for all of them, right? Repetition is what's going to help them know us. And we need to make sure that we're building kind of a brand recognition amongst these people. So as you're creating these profiles, make sure you're using the same photo, and then obviously those bios as well. But that's why we're writing them, is to put them in there and to make it relatable. We're trying to build a relationship from across the screen. Just know if you're doing one on Zillow or Realtor, it will likely take about 24 hours before it's published. I had an agent that was sitting across from me and doing it. She's like, I've done it like 3 times and nothing's coming up. It just takes a minute to go through on the system. So just know that. All righty. Then once we've got all of that established, once we make sure that people can find us and recognize that if we tell them we're an agent, they have somewhere to look us up and see that, then we want to make sure we notify as many people as possible. This is where it's different for everyone. The team that I was on before was very prospecting based. And so when I first got into the business, I was required to do like 2 hours of calls to as many people as I could along these lines of, hey, so-and-so, how are you? Awesome. I just wanted to reach out real quick. I want to catch up when you get some time, but I really wanted to let you know that I just joined a new brokerage. I'm really excited about it. It's one of the largest independently owned brokerages in the Triangle. They are amazing at taking care of their clients. I just wanted to let you know that. I know it's been a while since we connected. Just wanted to see if you had any real estate related questions, right? Like, it was incredibly direct. It is not what I would do now, but it is one of the ways that you can just kind of crank through it. Nowadays, focusing a lot more on SOI, kind of like Bryn was saying, and those friend relationships. Instead, I try to focus on just getting to know people and what's happening in their life. Because if we're asking them about their life, they're going to ask us about what's happening in ours. So typically, instead, these conversations look a lot more like I'm going on to my Facebook page or someone's Instagram page. So it's a little more time consuming, right? But I'm taking a look at what's happening in their life and just reaching out and saying, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I saw your Facebook post. I saw that you went to the islands recently. That looked amazing. Will you tell me about it? I just, I'm planning it. I'm trying to decide where I want to travel this year. I'm looking for ideas. Will you tell me what you loved about it? Did you use a travel agent? Cool, right? At some point, they're going to ask us what's going on in our world. Well, I decided to really take the leap and get full-time into real estate. As you know, I've had a passion for it for a long time. I've had a few investment properties, but it just really was pulling at my heart. So I've actually decided to take that jump. I'm really excited to be a resource to people. I've been showing a lot of homes. I've got an open house this weekend. So yeah, it's awesome. Do you have any real estate related questions while I've got you? I know the headlines are really intimidating right now, right? Be a resource first and foremost. People find great value in that. And really and truly, I mean, it sounds like most of you have been in it for at least a little bit, right? So we're not making this phone call of I just got into it, but there is great value in consistently checking in with your database. And if you haven't done this yet, going ahead and saying, I got into the business of the past few years, and this year I'm committing to be a lot more diligent about getting to know my database and people in it and serving you guys, not just in real estate, but serving you in life. I really want to make it my job to create a community here. What could I be doing that would help you? Or is there anything you have a question about? These headlines are crazy, right? People have no idea what's going on. Even us as agents, when we do our Monday morning weekend wrap-up calls, it's very interesting to hear. Over the past few months, it's been like crickets. But then lately, we're hearing a lot more about people going into multiple offers. But if all people are seeing are the headlines, they're not going to know that. So just talking to them one-on-one about whatever questions they have, being like, well, I still don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did. But what I can tell you is it's never too late. Building wealth, one of the best ways to do it is through real estate. And we can't start to build wealth without a property. I don't know when it's ever going to be the perfect time to buy. But I know there are a ton of scary headlines. I know that during COVID, when things were definitely a buyer's market and people were saying, oh my gosh, house prices and the interest rates are great. These are all great things. But at the same time, people were competing 100K over list price and 50K in deposits. You're not really having to do that now, right? Adding those little personal stories with the showings that you've experienced versus what you're experiencing now, just create value. And also, I will say this a million times in all of our classes. It's just my whole goal when I shifted from being at this firm, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a moment, but it was very prospecting heavy, like 1,200 minutes a month, or you got turned off of lead rotation type of calls. When I went from that to the brokerage now, and I decided to focus a lot more on my SOI, I strictly wanted to lessen the threshold for the reason that people would reach out to me. And so I'm a strong believer in energy, right? Like if someone pops into your head out of nowhere and you haven't thought about them in months, call them. There is a reason. And I will just say exactly that. Hey, I know it's been forever, but you popped into my mind today. I know we haven't chatted in a while, so I just figured it warranted a phone call. What's going on in your world, right? And I might not even bring up real estate at all. They already know what I do, right? And if to a certain extent, if you ask about real estate and it doesn't naturally flow that way, it undermines the entire conversation, right? So I just want them to know that I don't have anything to say, but I'm going to reach out. And so if you don't have anything to say, reach out. That's fine. I don't need you to wait until your neighbor has specifically asked you for a realtor recommendation, right? Just call me. Just let me know what's going on in your world. Has anyone done these types of phone calls when you first got into the business or recently? And if so, what did that look like for you guys? Yeah. All right, well, real quick, I know.
I'm sorry, it took me a minute to find the mute button.
You're good, by all means.
And I'm focused on taking notes. I told you this
Yeah.
room is a mess, so I'm just turning the camera off. I wanted to let the other people on here know that Kate is really serious about this because she has done this for me a couple of times. And your timing was usually really good. And I wanted to tell you that because even though you had to leave a message for me, it meant something to me, hear your voice. And I always tried to reach back out to you. So I think there really is, like I said, I'm trying to focus on the relationship component of this. And I think what you're talking about or what you're referring to is just being this way with everybody. Mm-hmm. And what I have found, like I walk dogs. So if I'm friendly with my neighbors and start up a conversation, it's like 50% of the time we end up talking about houses somewhere in the neighborhood or changes they want to make. Or I told you about the couple that wants to downsize. And so, I think for me, being focused on hearing that, okay, they're talking about a house, it's time for me to say I'm a realtor, right. But the transition that you make. And I think the big message that you're putting out there is just reach out to people, just be available to people. That is huge. I mean, it almost belongs in a different context, if you will, but I think it can really work for real estate. So I just wanted people to know that you don't just you walk the talk.
Thank you. I've tried to be better about it. I mean, thankfully, coming from a prospecting background, I'm not as intimidated to pick up the phone as it can be, but there have been so many situations where that has happened, where I've thought of someone and called them and they're like, oh my gosh, I was actually just mentioning your name to someone 2 days ago. And you're like, I knew there was a reason, you know what I mean? So just kind of put it out there. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And I mean, the other thing about this that really resonates is, especially with social media and everything going on, people are being sold things all the time and they know it, right? Like they've got this Instagram stories and like sign up for this class. And then once you do that, then you'll have to pay for it. Like oh my gosh, everything is monetized and everyone wants something. And so if you are just seeking out genuine connection with people, that goes a long way. I want to take a step back real quick because Eric sent me a direct message that I didn't get to when we were at the other screen. And he was just saying he was a little talking about Instagram and the platforms of whether to do a personal or a private or a business page specific, or whether to kind of weave it all into your personal page. He was saying he was a little concerned about that. Like, he wanted to use a completely different Instagram account for his business, but didn't know if it would be very difficult to get followers on that account. And if it was a business account that didn't have many followers and someone went to that page, would they find it concerning that there weren't many clients on there or many people following? I mean, I think any account, it takes time to build, right? And so like, yes, if you have 0 posts and 0 followers, that's a little different, but it's all about traction and it takes time. And so I think weaving in personal information that's relatable, weaving in, you know, unfortunately busy equals successful. So as you are going through homes, I'm a big advocate for like, if you don't have anything on your schedule, if you don't have any clients that you're currently working with, go out and tour some vacant homes that are near you and do some video tours. Make them some of the cute ones, right? Like not just the little ones that are kind of what you would standard expect. Make them the ones that are kind of wow. Take some good pictures or take some videos and post those to your Instagram or to your Facebook, whatever social media you're using, TikTok, and say like, had a great showing today. Look at this beauty. Do you like white cabinets or are you over them, right? Like little polls, things that will give the opportunity for engagement. So, I mean, yes, by all means, everyone's impressed by 1 million followers, but at the same time, I think more and more now people recognize that it's about the quality of the followers. And so I think people would much rather know that you have kind of a realistic, loyal following for people that really value your work as opposed to needing to see thousands, but just my perspective. But totally. And I think also it's all about the amount of time you're going to put in. So if you're not going to dedicate a lot of time to building your professional Instagram page or your professional Facebook, then by all means, don't go that route. Whatever works for you. Now, when you are doing these types of outreach, keep in mind, I'm talking about just kind of your first one, your initial follow-up or your initial notification to these people of what you're doing in the business. But I'm a big believer in multiple touches. And so after a conversation on the phone, or even if you leave them a voicemail, follow up with a text. This can be something that you've kind of drafted. You just have in your note section, you copy and paste it, make sure you change the name, right? But just kind of give them a quick update or a reason for reaching out. Not everyone listens to voicemails these days. Also, I'm a big believer in handwritten notes for the same reason. People know that they're being sold 1 million things. They know that text can be automated. They know that phone calls can be automated. But if you're sending a handwritten note, that means that you took time out of your day to not only write it, but put a stamp on it and put it in the mail. I mean, we get 1 million bills and stuff. And so literally, I don't have to have anything of like content or value in that card, but I got something that wasn't from, you know, Duke Progress Energy or like some other bill I have, right? Like that is a handwritten note. It's all about making people feel special and making them feel heard. And then also feel free to send them an email. Just kind of depends, right? If it's some casual conversation, by all means, don't do like all 4 things. Just do a few here and there. But if they're a little more interested, maybe sending them a follow-up email with a link to your website, just saying, hey, I know you're about a year out from searching, but it's never too soon to get a feel for what's happening in the market. Here's a link to my website. Just know that as you browse this, take your time, but you can favorite things and come back to them. There's also easy features for you to reach out to me. So if you have any questions about what you're seeing, you just let me know. We'll use this as a point of reference for when the time gets closer. So I have an idea of what style you like, things like that, kind of weave in there. Okay. So I know I've already said some of this, but so when you guys first got into the business, what did you do to announce your presence as an agent? Was it a Facebook post? Were these texts, or was it just kind of whoever you ran into, you notified them? What did that look like when you're first getting into the business? And do you see yourself doing anything like this now? Anyone want to share?
You can go first. I have not made an announcement. And I guess I'm really impressed with, who was the person that was moving? Amy's moving.
Mm.
I'm really impressed the way that she's, creating, I think she said she was creating her SOI here as she transitions away from her old home. My situation is, I think, go through my sort of my list of contacts, and so many people aren't local. Because I made a lot of friends while I was in Arizona, or a few friends in Arizona, but it was in a different context, right? Not in real estate. And then by the same token, a lot of my contacts here in the area, like I met people through a Spanish class that I taught.
Mm.
I feel really awkward about reaching out to people that I haven't spoken to for years, like 10 years, and say, hey, yeah, real estate, because obviously they're going to say, oh, you want to, sell me business. And I'm just really intimidated by that. Now, to your point, as far as being able to script, I could see myself reaching out to people that I've met, new people that I've made. So like new relationships, and being a little bit, like I said, a little bit more conscientious that this is what I'm doing now. And so that's where I'd like to focus, is working that into the conversation. Yeah, I hear you talking about downsizing, and, I can be available to you as a resource. I have my real estate license, and, I can access the MLS and send you listings or something like that. So that's something I need to work on.
That's a great point. And I know a lot of people that have moved to the area have that same thought process. And I am by no means going to nail this script when I say it, but Mary Lou Dingman, who's a coach with the Locker Room, shared this in one of her classes recently, exactly on that topic of saying, what you can do is reach out to those people and be like, hey, I know it's been forever, but I just wanted to reach out because I've gotten my license in North Carolina. I know you guys are obviously all the way out in Arizona, but I want to really make sure that I'm establishing my presence with as many agents as possible. I know did you guys buy a home out there? Oh, you did? Okay, awesome. How was your experience, if you don't mind me asking? What did you love about it? And what would you like to provide feedback to that agent on if you could? Oh my gosh, everything was amazing. Well, I'll tell you, that's the type of agent that I would want to really connect with, because I'm a big fan of, establishing as many connections as possible. Could you tell me the name of that agent, and do you have their contact information? Right. And then that way it's not about like, what can you do for me necessarily? Like, it's not about, hey, do you know anyone moving to Raleigh, North Carolina? Right. I'm just asking for feedback and giving people an opportunity to talk about their experience. And I can then call that agent and say, hey, I'm out here. I moved to North Carolina from Arizona. I have a ton of friends that are over that way. So I know people moving all the time. I also know that there's a good number of people moving over this way. So I wanted to see if you'd want to be kind of a referral partner. I'm always looking for agents that are, and then list some of the things that your friend said, that over communicate to people and have really good integrity, right? Whatever the case may be. And then you build that relationship with the agent, but it's an opportunity to have that conversation, because the thing to keep in mind, which I have to remind myself of all the time, one of my big goals this year is to really nurture my SOI, not because I'm selling, but because referrals. Like, who doesn't love a good 15-minute conversation to not do anything except send an intro email and you get a $2,000 check? Honey, I'm about that life, So even though I don't know people out there, you could have a conversation with someone that's like, no, I actually haven't bought yet. I actually don't know any agents out here. Oh, I know agents all over the country. Give me a little bit. I'll get back to you by the end of the day with a recommendation for you. Right. And then you just call some of your other friends, see if they have any good experiences, post it on the Facebook group. Right. So that's a good way to kind of ease into those conversations without feeling like you're overly asking, who do you know that needs to buy or sell? Pay for that. Good point. Thanks for bringing it up. Anything else y'all want to add? All right. Now let's talk about establishing your schedule. This is one of the things that we all struggle with. I still struggle with. in real estate, there are a million things to do. No day ever looks the same. How do you even plan for it if we don't know who's going to request a showing when, or if one day we have an inspection and other days we don't, right? So I'm a huge fan of time blocking. In essence, you want to treat this like a job. And so when whatever your hours are, set them as your working hours. For me, this is going to be, because I'm on an hour behind you guys, this means I'm going to be like 8 to 4:30 each day. Thankfully, I no longer really work weekends, but if whatever that case may be for you guys, say I'm working 9 to 6:30, right? In general, I know I'm not a morning person. So if I can help it, I'm not doing appointments. Time block whatever you consistently find yourself in the pattern of. And so when you're first getting into this, it can be a little tricky to figure out what to put even when, but take a step back and get a feel for when do you feel successful? And in general, what do you find yourself doing as a whole during these times, right? I know that I tend to find myself checking emails first thing in the morning. I'm then normally teaching a class like this from like 10 to 12. If I'm not teaching a class, then I'm possibly planning for a class that I have coming up or doing some one-on-ones. Then midday, I'm typically doing some social media or some design work of some sort. Maybe I'm designing an email blast that's going to go out, or I'm designing some mailers, right? And then at the end of the day, I typically am the most outgoing. I'm more willing to pick up the phone and call people. So that's when I'm going to be doing my prospecting, whatever that means to me, right? Time block it. Don't be so specific in terms of this is when I'm going to do emails and this is when I'm going to do calls, right? Make it as office work, marketing time, dollar producing activities, and personal time. Please, please, please set your personal schedule and don't be afraid to do that. But typically when I was first getting into the business, my ideal schedule in terms of time blocking has really not changed from being a top producer to kind of moderately producing to in the role that I am now, where I don't produce, but I coach. The same type of philosophy goes of when I am productive and when I'm inclined to do certain things. And so when I'm doing this, I often, like I said, I'll time block for marketing or office work. But when I'm time blocking for appointments and calls and prospecting and marketing, I typically time block those as dollar producing activities. And so what I would do is I'll pull up a spreadsheet and I'll just have all the days of the week broken down by hour of each day. And I'll just color code it. Be like, 9 a.m. yellow all across the board, right? That way. And then at 10 o'clock, I would have dollar producing activity. That means I am either in an appointment or I am making calls, whatever the case may be for your schedule. But that way on Saturday, right? Like I might not have any appointments, but I've already time blocked that I would be doing a dollar producing activity. Maybe even going to see if there's a last minute open house I can fit into my schedule or something like that. That way, if someone reaches out to me, and they're like, hey, I need to see a home tomorrow. Awesome. I can go at 10 a.m. or I can go at 2 p.m. Which of those works for you? Oh, I'm working during the day. Okay, awesome. I can go right at 6. Does that work for you? Right? Like, again, there's scarcity creates value. And so if someone reaches out, especially as we're first getting started, and they're like, I need to go see this house. And you're like, awesome, my day is wide open. Let me know when you want to go. Oh my gosh, they're going to take forever to get back to you. It's going to be the one time that really doesn't work the best for your schedule. And then you're kicking yourself for saying you were so available, right? So set some boundaries in your day. And, if you have this whole client care plan, you want to get really good about your SOI. So you are going to be doing a postcard once a quarter. You're going to be doing a client event once a quarter, whatever the case may be, right? If I am time blocking in my day saying, you know what, every afternoon from 12 to 2, which for you guys, I honestly would make it like in the morning or slightly in the middle of the afternoon, right? I like to leave when I was producing, I'd like to leave my middle of the days open for appointments. I would create those as dollar producing, because if someone wants to go to an appointment during lunch, I want to make sure I can accommodate that, because I'd much rather do it during lunch than do it in the evening when I'm trying to be home, right? But if you have a plan for all of that, then go ahead and time block for your marketing and office work. And then that way you already have an idea of what you're going to be doing and when you're going to do it, and just set that aside. And I'm the worst about this, right? I don't want to do something unless I can like get it done. But like, when am I going to have 6 hours to sit down and make 5 mailers, right? No, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to try to just set aside time and say, all right, from 1 to 2, I'm going to do as much design work as I can in Canva. And then whenever that 2 o'clock hits, then I'm done, kind of like hands up, right? And then I'm on to the next task. If you can time block all of that, it will make your goals a lot more attainable. All right. So what does all of this look like? When I was at the other firm, I had very high goals. I would sell like 30, 32 homes a year. I wanted to help as many clients as possible. I wanted to make as much money as possible. I was young. I didn't have really anyone in my life. Like my world was work. And that meant that I was making 2 hours worth of phone calls every single day in order to stay in lead rotation and get those internet leads. But that also meant that I was going to appointments all evening and also on the weekends, and also writing offers at like 10 o'clock at night. Now, there's a time and a place for everything. Everyone has their own structure. If you are of the mindset of internet leads are your vibe, and really, I don't think anyone here said that that was the case, so I'm not going to spend much time on this, but if internet leads are what you are going to be basing your business off of, then you need to be putting into practice times each day to do calls and follow-up calls and follow-up texts. Because when we think of internet leads, we often think like, I'm going to call and pick up the phone and sell them something tomorrow. That's not the case. That's not how it works at all. You are building a relationship over the phone. We get those like health care texts saying, hey, do you want me to send you a free quote like 5 times a day, right? And how many of those do we get? People are being sold all the time. And so repetition is key if we're going to be doing anything like that. Obviously, that's the same with our SOI. We still need to be reaching out consistently, but especially if they are completely cold leads, designated time each day, whenever that is, make sure it's in your calendar, because there's never going to be a time that you really, I mean, there might be like 1 day a week that you're like, yeah, I'm hyped. I'm ready to pick up the phone. Let's do this. Most of the time you're not in the mood. And so putting it in your schedule helps you get in that rhythm. And it also, like it only takes 1 or 2 good conversations where you're like, yeah, I'm actually in my flow. Like I didn't really want to do this right now, but now that I've had a good few conversations, I'm ready. Like, let's go. So getting that in your schedule and making you do it, you'll see great success. Now, when I came over to Choice, I wanted to do a lot less. My goal was to have a life. I wanted to make good money. But I also just really wanted to take some time for myself. And so again, like I was talking about and what Billy Joe chimed in, my goal was to really just let people know when I was thinking about them. My goal was to lessen the threshold. Same thing goes. I still was setting aside time each day, but it would be like every other day for an hour. And then the other 2 remaining days that week, I'd be writing handwritten notes, or I'd be scrolling through Facebook and Instagram and making note of the people that just got married, the people that just had kids, the people who, like one of my past clients, for instance, I saw on Facebook that he had just become a grandparent, and I knew because I've worked with him twice that was their first grandbaby. And so I sent them flowers to their home address because I knew that and I had seen it on Instagram. And so it was really cool to get that text from him. Didn't let him know it was coming, just sent them their way. And that's really fun. It makes people feel special. It makes me feel good. And that's something they're really going to remember, because you're not just calling them to ask about a home, right? My hairdresser lived a block from my house, or worked a block from my house, and I knew her coffee order. So when I would have time, about, once every other month, I would just make sure to pop by randomly unannounced with her favorite coffee. Like if I just got a vibe, like, oh, I'm thinking about her, I'm going to go drop off a coffee. And you know what? She always has some other client in her chair. She's like, oh my God, you're the best. You read my mind. And I'm not staying. I'm just like, I knew it. I was thinking about you. Have a good day. Right. The second you leave, someone's going to be like, who is that? That's my real estate agent. Right. So I tried to really make that as my goal. But I would do it with intention. And when you do this, we kind of talked about this at the start of the call. And I don't know if I think Billy Joe, you went through track recently, but doing all of this and time blocking, it makes you feel a lot less guilt, right? Like in real estate, we can do all of these things and we take a step back and we're like, I didn't do anything today. Like I ran errands, I like called a few friends, right? But I went I had lunch with 3 people. It makes you feel a lot less guilty about those things because, like Brandon and I were talking about at the end of this call, that is building your business, spending time with the people you care about, or, going to a kickball league or whatever the case may be. If that is the way that you intend on building your business, now granted, you can't just show up and leave, right? We're having conversations with people, but showing people you care, it makes you feel a lot less guilty about all of those little in-betweens because you really are making time for your business. Okay. Find whatever works for you and stick with it and put it in your calendar. I live by my calendar. If something is not in my calendar, it does not exist to me, down to like dinner with my parents, right? So if needed, go ahead and just put it on your calendar. If that's what it takes to be accountable, say, write five handwritten notes at 11 a.m. each day. Make a plan for it. So short and sweet. That's kind of all I've got for you guys today. This is just my little motivation for you guys to, if there's anything that we talked about today that you're like, yeah, I know, it's been on my radar forever. Speaking from personal experience about said bios, right? Use this as your nudge to do it. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I love helping with this type of stuff. So if you've written a bio or you want to write one, feel free to send it over. I'm always happy to look it over and make some recommendations or be like, it looks amazing, post it now, right? And feel free to do some outreach. Even though you guys have been in it for a little bit, just do kind of a friendly reminder. Maybe make a post saying, I'm so excited about 2023. My goal is, I don't know, to go to a new workout class 2 times a month. Does anyone have any recommendations, right? Create some sort of engagement with people that resonates with your business in a way that feels authentic to you and also feels fun, because that's why we're here. Okay. Anyone have any questions? I know it was light and fluffy today, but that's kind of what we're here for. Anyone? Thoughts, comments? Cool. Well, thank you guys for hopping on today. This one was just kind of nice, easy one to get us started on Thursday. So tomorrow, for those of us at Choice, we've got the Choice chat. In that, we go over the past month's numbers. We'll recognize some of our top producers. Typically, we have a guest vendor come on. It's normally an attorney or a lender, just kind of talking about what's happening in the market. On Thursday, I'm going to be going over Dotloop. That's the platform that we do for all of our signatures, housing documents, compliance. And so I'm going to be walking you guys through how we use Dotloop, the functionality of it, and getting templates set up so that you can write offers very quickly. And then next week, we'll be talking about systems. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions, but thank you guys for your time today. I appreciate it. It's so good to see everyone. Thanks for bearing with me this morning. I'm glad we were able to get some audio going. Yeah, but cool. I'll talk to all of you soon. Thank you so much for your time. Let me see. We got one more in the chat. I think we're good. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good day.
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you, Kate. Good luck with your new place.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye.